going.
Okay, so nobody's getting the truth from the mainstream media, folks. It's well past time to open your eyes, your ears, and your mind. Do your own research because something isn't right here. And if you can't see that, you are not paying attention, folks.
It's the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The important message that we need Australians to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. In line with that, I do encourage all Australians to please go and book your vaccinations as soon as you can if you haven't already done so.
Emma, get away!
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Okay, we need to stand up against this tyranny, folks. Stop giving away your freedoms and liberties, because the more you give up, the more these people will take until you have absolutely nothing left. That's their agenda.
All right, good evening, people. How are you? G'day, Frank. How are you, mate? Welcome again. Thanks for coming in, bro.
That's a pleasure, mate, as always.
Cool. So, a couple of things before we step into what we're doing. I just saw that, that place where you work, Frank, in the northern suburbs there, mate, your pool that cost you $122 million at North Sydney, they are now going to seek a 53% rate rise. 53% over 3 years for you to pay for it. What do you think?
You know what that sounds like? Desperation, Dave. That sounds like a lot of desperation right now. That means that the coffers are drying up, shall we say.
And then we've got our old mate Tom Rogers, all right, from when we ran for Senator, Frank. He's now been put in charge of doing a look into the Electoral Commission, the voting. Like, it's insane. Why would they bring, okay, I better watch what I'm saying, but yeah, I don't think you've done a great job when we were in, Frank.
Oh, mate, they did everything they could. They did everything they could do, mate, to try and tear it apart as far as we were concerned, So,
unbelievable.
But Dave, they got caught out on so many occasions. We saw ballots, taken away. We saw the whole riffraff, exposing itself. But it's a simple case. The handbook is, if I create a villain, I'll give you a hero. If there's a hero, I'll create a villain. It's the whole left and right. It's always been that way, So yeah.
No, too right, mate. Well, listen, this is what we've had a lot of different theories about what happened to this country, guys, and we like to bring them all to you. As I say to you, we'll bring you the news and what's going on out there. You do the research. All right, as simple as that. You have to be happy about what you're learning or what you're taking on or whatever. But we're going to revisit. We've got Ulikai back with Andrew. We had Andrew on a couple of weeks ago, guys, to talk about what they've found in the history of this country and the documents that they've found and the story that they've got. Now, again, guys, we've put a few people on the show. We bring everybody's view because we need to do that. We need to debate these things. We need to get it out there. And you need to research about your country. So again, we're going to introduce Andrew, and then we'll bring in Ulikai. And welcome to the show, guys. Stop the right, Safra. And
great to be here, Dave.
yeah, how are you? How are you, Andrew?
Oh, I'm well, thanks, mate. And you? Are you well?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Getting better. We'll be putting up with a few trials tonight because I'm back on camera now after I've had this bit of an operation and that. So they're out to give me a bit of curry. But anyway, the behind the scenes people
red wine will fix it, or at least it'll
they can't help themselves. That's what we're up against, evil. And this country has been taken by evil people. And you guys here have another story.
It was evil for the day of colonization, my friend. You know, and that is something that Ulikai's people can talk to only too pertinently and too closely to in terms of their experience. And Ulikai is the heir successor to the Batman Treaty. Ulikai, we call King Ulikai. His Majesty doesn't like using those terms terribly much. He's a bit shy. But he is the heir successor to the first known recognition of First Nations people in 1835 in Victoria. So, Ulikai, would you like to give us a bit of the background of your family story and the evil that has confronted your nation since the arrival of colonists?
Well, thank you, Andrew, and thanks for having me on tonight, guys.
Yeah, it's pleasure.
You know, the history of our country is so convoluted with modern crap. It's beyond laughable, and like I tell people, it's one thing to be looking backwards in our time frame for evidence of matters or for confirmation of matters. And we'll talk about that. But my dream, as I'm a visionary and I'm looking forward to the future of our country, more than I am looking in the past. Yes, the past is important. Certain things happened. But unless this country gets a hold of itself today, you know, we're not going to have much of it tomorrow. And that's all of us.
Yep.
You know,
can only agree with that comment, mate. You know, these guys, you know, their plan is 2030, 3.5 years. 3.5 years.
And it's a 1,000-year-old plan. No doubt. It's been on the books for a long time. And it's sorry, sir, go on.
No, you're right. Well, I was going to say to you, look, something I bring up to people is these guys are evil, and as you just said, thousands of years in the planning. These guys have never lost yet. They are only now starting to actually get the taste of defeat, because they've never tasted it before, because no one's ever stood against them. They've had it all their own way up until now. So, yeah, I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, look, I think that throughout the ages, there has been people who have stood up and made things happen. And I think the Magna Carta was one of those events. And if we go back and have a look at the history of what happened around the Magna Carta, and then that was an event that sort of shifted the power base a little bit here and there and decentralized it a little bit. But today's power base is definitely of a corrupt nature. A lot of people joined the government and services and emergency services, police, army, all kinds of things for the best intentions, always. No, I don't believe that people join these institutions to do evil things, but you know, like they say, what happened in Germany of World War II is I was just following orders.
Yeah.
And this is where we're at today. We're in the same mode of operating today where where those who are following the orders, to me, I'd never call evil people, but then again, that's my forgiving side for just on a human level. It doesn't mean they're not. Doesn't mean the public can't call them evil, because in essence, everything we're doing is for the public and the members of our nation to get justice here in this country.
Yeah.
So how did you get? I think no, Frank wants to say something too, but I'll give you one quick question. Ulikai, how did in 1835 did your people, with all respect, actually what happened with the Batman thing, and how have you guys actually got what you would call reign of the country? I don't know how you're going to put it, you know what I mean, but yeah,
I'm glad you're a little bit confused there, because this is confusing times, Dave, and what we're doing is people want a new program. They want new things, but we can't give them something new unless we all speak in a new fashion, create new symbols, logos, new court programs, and actually create the new. As much as we want to think we can save this system, the system is dying and collapsing in on itself. But to answer your question, like for many years, I wasn't sure where my people actually came from, as I knew where one side of the family came from, but I wasn't sure about the other side. And there is what we come to discover in the past 30 to 40 years is that all the Aboriginal groups are now Indigenous, to be politically correct. But the word Indigenous actually means to be living but has no soul or consciousness. That's what the etymology of the word actually is. And it was only to pertain to plants and some wildlife. It was never meant to be as a human label. But we know what political correctness done to this country and done to the world. But in 1835, my great-great-great-grandfather had put an X in his thumbprint on the Batman Treaty. Now, some people would argue in history that it wasn't a real treaty, it wasn't this, it wasn't that, it was just a lease agreement. Regardless of what it was deemed at the time, it was a contract that began and actuated colonial commerce to begin on the land. Even though they broke that treaty within about 5 years, I think, and my great-great-great-grandfather went into Melbourne to inform the governor that, I'm not sure who it was at the time, it could have been Latrobe, that their time was finished. And then what happened was him and his people went back out to Yarra Glen, which is in the Yarra Valley, which is the heart of his country, and they sent a hunting party out to execute my great-great-great-grandfather. But they hit the wrong camp on the river. So my great-great-great-grandfather was able to escape that assassination attempt. And one of the documents that was given to me many years ago suggested that he actually joined the Burke and Wills party. And because he was hunted by the Redcoats, so he actually joined the party, him and his sidekick, a man named Simon Wonga. And they hid in that party, and they actually moved away from the party when they handed Burke and Wills over to another tribe at Swan Hill, over the river.
So has this come down through your family line? Where's the research and the documentation you look at? It really interests me because, has this come down firsthand through you, or you've had to do the research, put the pieces together?
It's an amalgamation of, look, some people could accuse me of hearsay, but it's an amalgamation of a spiritual and genetic memory alongside whistleblowers who would come to me and said, no, this is the case. You've been lied to. Everyone's been lied to about your family. and I wasn't sure where they were coming from at first, whether they were setting me up or what the case was. But when we looked at the data, it all fell in place to the point where my great grandfather, his name was Waverong Murray, and he had another name, Powen Murray. And there's a few discrepancies in the story on how he got given the name Murray and spelt in this modern form, which is the Scottish form, I guess. But that agreement was used to set up commercial bases here.
Okay.
I'm not sure how long the Port Phillip Authority was in operations before they'd done the treaty or shortly after. But the time frame of this country is out of whack. A few years ago, I met with a man who actually got to view a book of the first set of land titles that was produced in Melbourne. And he started the documents. He said there was 17 pages missing, torn out of the front of the book. So there's these missing titles and title numbers. And the title we got to, which is number 18, was listed in 1799. So we're not sure, but because the history's been so
where did
convoluted.
the book actually start? Where did the book pick up again from? What year?
1799. And
Okay.
the first 18 pages of land titles that were issued were missing out of that book. Now, whether I took it on good faith that this man was telling me the truth, he could have been deceiving me. But I am a human being, and well, I like to think so. But I love actually believing in people enough to know that they've done their research and they've brought me certain documents and certain views. And then after a conversation, I realized that these people have no real reason to deceive me on the information they're giving me. But also, gentlemen, there's the other side of our fence, which is our genetic memories and our genealogy, which comes important because wherever we come from, and it doesn't matter who we are, we have guides and guardians that overlook us. So throughout the years in the past few decades, it's my guides and guardians who have led me into the right place to receive the right information. So all of this really is of a spiritual nature in its guts. But what we're doing at the moment is trying to, well, we're figuring out, we don't have to figure out too much, is how they got us all to this point in this country. The most deceiving government of all, I believe, is the Australian government. And
they're pretty bad. Yeah. Go, Frank.
Yeah, Brendan. I mean, the interesting thing is, the country is so broken in many respects, right? We've been torn into shreds, right? Now, you've obviously had plenty of time to obviously, think about this. How does this look moving forward? How does this look to this nation moving forward?
Well, sorry you called me Brendan there because I got Brendan Murray up on my little screen there because I'm using someone else's computer and I couldn't put my name in there properly.
I do. Allow me to apologise, Ulikai. You know what I mean?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
not at all.
But moving forward.
Yeah. Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, sure. I said this country's, is so heavily divided. It's been torn into a million shards right now, and we've got so many. Everyone's got very strong opinions on how how everything should be running and all the rest of it, right? There's no question that we've got to figure out a way to galvanize an entire nation, right? Okay. But the thing is, the textbooks really have to add up properly, because people want to see something. They want to see something that's tangible, and also with the spiritual connection. Again, it's one of those things. I mean, moving forward, we if this is a grand plan for this nation moving forward, then it has to sit on something with really rock solid foundation. Otherwise, we won't gain the nation behind it.
I think there's a really simple answer to that, in fact, and that is about making sure that Australia complies with rule of law from the government perspective. And I remember during our last session, I discussed the Charter of the Commonwealth as enacted by Her Majesty, Commonwealth Day of 2013. And then on Commonwealth Day of this year, Ulikai and I issued a joint proclamation that I've just sent through to Dave. Dave, it's in your email. If you could pull that up on the screen, there's a bit more meat to that document than the 4 pages you're talking about. And I think it's really as simple as comply with international law. The international law that I'm thinking of is specifically the Charter of the United Nations, and before that, the Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States. And states do have a duty, and they do have obligations, but it seems to me at this point in time that once public officials inserted into public office within government, the real issue that arises an absolute and abject failure to exercise discretionary public powers that have been conferred under enactments on that position in a manner that's exclusively in the public interest. They're too busy sort of trying to hang on to their jobs or, exercise discretion however they think they can save the government money by failing to comply with the effective right of a remedy. And if
in saying that, Andrew, in saying that, I've got no confidence in royal backbone at all. And as a matter of fact, as far as the royals go, or anything to do with, the establishment, I'm done with the establishment. I mean, because we're in this mess because of the establishment.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But in terms of the Charter, if you read the Charter, it was the right principle. So I'm just coming from read it in plain English, signed by a person. So yes, it was the Queen that signed it, and therefore became an imperial prerogative writ. But and ever since that day, the Commonwealth heads of government, the 54 nations that comprise the Commonwealth, have said every 5 years, yes, it's binding on us, but every year that goes by, the countries that are part of the Commonwealth fall further and further apart as the dogs that are in the system. And let's face it, it is a system, and the system is money laundering and terrorism financing.
This is the thing I have with the Commonwealth, right? So this is in the Constitution, right? So this is Section 4. So the Governor-General, as far as we know ourselves, lawfully may, upon sufficient cause to him apparently, may remove from office and suspend and exercise the same person exercising any office, wait for it, on our said Commonwealth, which doesn't mean us at all, under or by virtue of any commission of warrant granted or by which is granted, and wait for this one, by us in our name or under our authority, which doesn't mean us, the people, at all.
Well, I can probably better. I can answer that.
Yeah, come in here, okay?
Yeah.
Now, look, in essence, maybe an analogy, and I spoke to Andrew today about it. It's the Crown and the Commonwealth is merely a platform and a tool. So if you picture the Crown laws and Commonwealth laws as a vehicle, at the moment we have lunatics at the wheel. It's simple as that. We have to take the lunatics away from the steering wheel because what it really is it's a lacking of stewardship over our nation and over all the Commonwealth nations, really.
Absolutely right.
There's an absolute lack of intelligent, ethical stewardship. And there's no other way about it. And this is where, but at the same time, there may be a lot of heartfelt people out there watching who feel that they can step up to the job, but it's going to be a tough one for us all. Because
the biggest problem we have is the lobbyists in this country. Yeah, the lobbyists outnumber the politicians. What is it, 9-1 or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's the bullshit corrupt, back end of it.
Yeah.
Like you say, we've got idiots running this country. Absolute idiots, mate.
This idiot is running the whole world. And look,
point.
and in a nutshell, what kind of nutcase would someone like me be to come out and say, listen, I'm the king, just like that? People can say whatever, but, as at the beginning, Andrew said, I'm very hesitant to wear these titles because it's not something that I chose. Or many other people out in their country, including the lobbyists, the politicians, all people who run all kinds of groups, whatever they're doing is by choice. But I am under an obligation to this country and to all people, not just my people. So I see stewardship as an obligation, not as a want.
An obligation.
I would rather be camping on the river, fishing, having fun with people.
Okay, so what can you do for this country? You're like, how are we going to fix this? How do you suggest we fix it?
Well, firstly, there's going to be a lot of humbling happening. We need to teach people. Firstly, like, okay, there's a lot of people out there who reckon we didn't have kings and queens, but that's a fallacy. We did have kings and queens in Australia. We don't have chiefs. And we don't operate in a collective either. Collectives do not work because normally, without, I don't want to swear too much, but the shit rises to the top in a collective. And the hippie movement of the 60s, the hippie movement of
the shit's risen at the top.
Yeah. And the hippie movement of the 60s and 70s was actually an experiment from the UCLA. The hippie movement didn't just happen. It was designed and put into society, just like exactly what's happening in this country today. A lot of it's designed and put into the country as a control mechanism. Division. First, divide the people, let them fight over pittance. Let them fight over the very little that we can offer them. While they line their pockets, always generation in, generation out. So this is a generational battle, not just what we see since COVID. A lot of people have only woken up since the COVID sort of thing, but there's also a lot of other people out there who've been.
Yeah, they slept right through it, mate. They slept right through it. They're still freaking asleep. They still got no idea what's going on.
Yep. So what about if I ask a question of here? What is authority?
My authority comes from the good Lord. I'm a Christian, I'm a believer in Yahweh, mate, from the Old Testament.
Okay. So was that a what or a who then?
Who?
Yeah, because a what and a who are two different matters. And I tell people a what can never have authority. Only a who or a whom can wield authority on the earth. A human being. As much as doctrines hold knowledge and power, in the end, it's one of us or someone. It's got to be someone. So who's going to be? Because are we not animals in nature? And if we are, we're just animals in smooth clothes, upright, slick hair. But what separates us from the animal world, guys? Nothing. Okay.
Not nothing. But,
No, it's true. There's very little. Only thing is humans lack the instinct animals do, if I can put it in a nutshell.
Okay,
but
looking at it from that angle.
Yeah, but no matter how much we wish we could move away from it, there must be a hierarchy. Because collectives, democracies do not work. Have a look at America right now. If people say they don't want a king here, then what are you going to have a president and do what's happening in America? Everything becomes the same no matter what the title is. Whether it's our Presidente, our King Day, Prime Minister, what's that one in Iran, the Ayatollah, the Supreme Leader, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the title is. What matters is, who is it? Are they coming from an ethical obligatory standpoint, which means it's our obligation to do the right thing by the people we're meant to be serving.
Okay, so
but again, Yurikai, moving forward, how do you implement that?
Well, very intelligently, with a bit of sarcasm, I believe, because and a sense of humor. Because one of my teachers was a very famous Native American medicine man. His name was Wallace Black Elk. You can just Google him and see all the wonderful things he says about our world and about the nature of creation and God. A lot of tribes still talk about God, but everyone just had a different name for the same masculine being from the sky.
But the way I see this, Yurikai, is that we've been in a spiritual war for probably the best part of the turn of the century, right? And like Dave and I, we make it very, very clear our faith is, God himself, you know what I mean? And I'm not talking religion or anything like that, right? I'm just talking strictly God, right? Okay. So, and I've been, religions has divided me as much as the government, as much as it has done with the royal family and everything else. I'm pretty well divided by that these days, right? But at the end of the day, if we know that this whole entire system is completely done, through the principalities of evil, and I mean it, and I mean that sincerely, right? Mm-hmm. Then the only way back to this is to find source, to find God, right? I mean, we can sort of sit on our own lot, but in doing that, it's where we are today.
Did you say defined or to find?
No, I mean, I've already found it. I'm not trying to find it.
No. Yeah. Because a lot of people don't know how to read the Bible either. I read it once alongside a thesaurus. I read the Bible and the thesaurus side by side because I wanted to know what all the fuss was about in the Bible. But I needed the thesaurus to understand what I was reading and look at Sefer and look at what these words actually meant that they're talking to people about.
Yeah.
And while we're on it, just to show you, this is the Bible, I believe. Ethiopian.
Well,
88 books, not 66 books, 88.
Look, text is great no matter what it is. But what I found in Genesis, and I can't remember where it was, and it said, the heart is the steeple and the people are the church. No church building can hold the idea of God or a great creator.
Totally agree.
Totally agree with that. Yeah.
We the people are the church, and our human heart is actually the steeple in which the light of God lives.
But see, that's how we galvanize the community, is through that in itself, in an essence, because it is all about the heart. And the trouble is, we've been living our entire existence without using a lot of this and this combined, right?
No, too much of that and not enough of this.
Not enough of this, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Look, when I was in the desert,
there's a bit of a problem with that fundamental concept. I agree with it as words and as a principle, but what we're trying to get to is a world where people find it easier to live and survive and get enjoyment out of life, and sadly, but it's true, all of that depends on funds, money, so you do need to be able to have a roof over your head. You need to be able to look after your family. You need to be able to do all the fundamental basic things, to create enjoyment in life. It's not about position so much. It's about just that fundamental principle, and that takes money. And that's what my focus is very different. And it's one that supports Ulukai from the point of view of his sentiments and ethics and feelings and principles of the heart. But someone has to find the money to keep these bastards honest, lock them up, and create a future for us. Because at the moment, government has control over tax revenue.
And how do we fund against the new world order, Andrew? How do we fund against the new world? George Soros. How do you fund against him?
Well, it's not difficult because the balance sheet exists already that is capable of funding it. But what we need is a noise from the people to be able to put pressure onto the Reserve Bank to say, bring the funds that have been donated, and they've been donated by my family to the benefit of the peoples of Australia. There are 10 working capital trusts established in the public interest. Happy to show you the documentation, happy to show you the delivery of the funds to the various premiers and prime ministers and chief ministers and chief administrators in 2021. Where's the money? What happened to it? What did they do with it? Did they speak?
We know where it went.
We know where it is or where it's going. Yeah.
You know, so these are real things that happened in time that created value in the hands, not of the Garrett family, because we're the one that gave it away, but in the hands of everyone else. So somehow we need your audience and everyone else out there to say, here's the evidence of the donations. Where's the money? Why isn't it being used for our benefit? Why aren't we in control of it? What are the premiers and what is the Prime Minister doing with those monies? Why hasn't the Reserve Bank brought it into the system?
We know, we catch him out every show, you know, except shows like this, but normally our news show, you know, we're putting them on notice all the time. But the problem is the lobbyists, right, coming from, you know, that country over there, that one, okay, and they are pulling the shots. So at the moment, we need a Governor General to do the job and set part of government so we can move forward and have people like Ulikai, yourself, or whoever else, you know, get together. The country runs itself. No one has to run the country. People get up, go to work, the country runs. What's happening is, like you said, top tier, all right, is running the muck with our money. That's what's going on. Sorry, I shouldn't do that, but the top.
No, look.
Top tier.
Well, wasn't our current Governor General not long ago come on the TV and really arrogantly said, as the Governor General, I do not serve King Charles. In fact, you do, lovey. You're meant to serve the people on behalf of the Crown. And she turned around and says, she serves the Australian government. That's not what the General said.
That's absolutely correct. She doesn't. Section 61 of the Constitution says, you know, the power to keep executive government straight vests in the Queen as at the time of the Constitution, and that then vests in her agent, the Governor General. But it is executive government doesn't vest in Australian government. It actually vests in the King, and it's the executive government that has got it so fucked up. Excuse my French. Mind you, the judiciary is pretty close behind because their interpretation of the law is seriously fucked up, you know, and it's all about keeping themselves immune from prosecution. Can you believe that the judiciary passed a judgment, the High Court passed a judgment undoing Stratford versus Vasta in 2025 and passed in the High Court Vasta versus Stratford, and said, you know, all justices, all judges, no matter whether they're a lower court or the highest court, are immune from prosecution. Well, they're not. That's not the principles that are enshrined in the Constitution. This is all about equality of rights under the law. And you can't have a class of people, judges, being better than someone else, you know, because it's equality of rights. Section 64 of the Judiciary Act must be, and of course, if you go through those judgments, Section 64 wasn't referred to, just the same way it wasn't referred to in Atwells versus Jackson Lilac lawyers in the High Court in 2016, which granted advocates immunity from prosecution. The lawyers and judges are immune from prosecution. Give me a bloody break. They're the ones that have screwed up this country since the day it was colonised.
Well, Andrew, they've been bought for a long time.
Yeah.
Right, it is. No question. It's all about show me the
money.
And I
mean, when anyone wants to put those stupid wigs on, that tells me something already. Why are they wearing those stupid wigs for?
I want to know why someone...
It's all about theatre, mate. It's all about theatre.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. Exactly.
And that's why the bench is higher than everyone else in the courtroom.
Yeah.
The big wigs, of course.
The big wigs. Yeah.
Of course.
Evan Whitten did a really good series of articles. I don't know if you've seen his works. Evan Whitten was extraordinary, and he was a multi-award-winning journalist, Walkley Awards. I think he had 3 of them. And he wrote Our Corrupt Legal System. Another expose on the legal system was Serial Liars. And also reflected in those works was works from Professor Fred Riddell of the New York University in 1939. Woe unto ye lawyers. And here we are, all of us, everyday citizens who rely on judges and lawyers to protect the common law, but they don't do that. It's all about changing the law as they go along, and then they say, "Oh, His Honour said in such and such," and I think Riddell referred to the Kilroy bird as being the corollary, because it's the only bird in civilization that flew backwards, looking into the past, rather than flying forwards, looking into the future.
So
it's the climate of the era that has changed. And that was a really useful quote out of one of the Supreme Court of the USA judgments. Can't remember what it was, but talk about the right concept. It's the climate of the era is today. It has changed from what it was yesterday, and we need to make sure that the targets, while they've been moving, keep the bastards honest.
Yeah, well,
we're trying. I've been trying for a long time.
We've got to bring them down.
Honest. Yeah.
I wrote to the CEO of Hong Kong last week saying, how would you feel if there was a private funded new court system established, headquartered in Hong Kong, because after all, Hong Kong was a common law jurisdiction, but it is, one nation, 2 systems, and have the International Crown Criminal Court for the abolition of impunity domiciled in Hong Kong rather than wherever the International Criminal Court is today, I think it's in Netherlands, and the International Court of Justice, and also in the Netherlands. But, why don't we... China has done a remarkable job. They've pulled 800 million people out of poverty, and that needs to be applauded. But all our politicians can do is throw mud at the other side of the fence rather than admire the achievements.
It's all by design, Andrew, and the design is playing out the plan, mate, and we have to change it, so, and that's what we have these little discussions for, to let people know.
They're also lucky too, Andrew, and sorry, Dave, to interrupt, but the Chinese are probably, and I don't want to use the word too loosely, but they're more submissive to it. You know what I mean? They're, if the government says, and they're happy to follow. In this case, we don't have that here. We're not going to have people that are just going to follow and march in a straight line.
We need a system of justice that works, but at the moment, we certainly don't have it. I remember
we don't.
National security law was passed in 2020.
Right, well, we're getting to near wrap-up time. So, Ulikai, what would you like to see happen? How can people help you make that happen if they're in line with you and what you're doing, or what are you trying to do? What's your suggestion for us as brothers in this country?
I think the population needs to have a look at itself inwards before it looks outwards, and not necessarily blame other people from where we're at, but really the continuation of people to go on and keep voting and voting and voting and giving their power away to such a corrupt, cancerous program is mind-boggling to me. Other people may see it other ways, but I get it because they're still believing the lie that I once believed in too.
Yep.
And we all believe that lie at one stage or another in our lives, whether we woke up when we were young or we will become conscious as we got older. Certain actions against us force us to become awoke to this.
Yep.
But I'm in the mindset that I've been trying to learn from everyone else's mistakes, so I don't repeat them over and over and over. So foresight is much better to have than hindsight, because hindsight is done and dusted. We've been bitten on the button by then. So there's a lot of, you mentioned lobbyist groups. What about the common law lobbyist groups that get behind groups in this country? And there's all these different groups in all different factions trying to make something work. But I asked them, where do you derive your authorities? Yeah. Yes, and the greatest claim someone can make is the authority of creation and God. But let's get down to the modern point today. Like, how do we unify black and white Australia when so much of black Australia is still so bitter about much of white Australia's approach to the Aboriginal world? That I'm creating. There's all these bridges that are joining black and white all over this country, but it's happening in little pockets. People talk about we need to unify.
The government's out to divide us every day of the week. You know what I mean? So you've got the psychological warfare.
But at the same time, most Australians are divided within. That's why they can't make up their own minds, truly.
Yeah, fair point. They are. Yeah, you can't serve two masters. Yeah, that's fair.
So they've got to wake up and have their own rebirth in this country to realise what is the best path forward. Who are the best people to drive our country forward? Because this country doesn't get better. It's driven by people who've got to get hold of the reins and drive it forward. Get these nutcases from behind the reins, kick them out of the car, take hold of the ship, bring the ship into safe harbour. Most humans are floating around on the sea without a keel.
Yep.
So there's the maritime law all over this place, kicking in our doors, running those rivers of tar all the way up to our doorstep. A soldier said to me 20 years ago, no one likes a soldier until the enemy's at the gate. Well, sadly to say, folk, the enemy's in the gate. They're inside our house now.
Yeah.
So, look, my dream would be a catalytic event. Even if it's someone's name, a persona, needs to be a catalyst event to get something rolling, because I'll wear the blame for everything. People call it blame. I'll take credit. Okay? Like the idea of being called a king, a lot of people don't like it. I said, well, I don't like it either. But it's a necessary obligation I've had to walk into. And people say, oh, we didn't have kings and queens in this part of the world. I said, well, how do you know? You read something, did you? You must have read some words on a page and thought it was the Gospels. I had a debate with a man in Canberra in 2023, and everyone around me said, whoa, look out. He's got 200 IQ points. Be careful what you say in front of him. I said, please, Lord, let me have the freaking chair next to this man today at the table.
Yeah, I think 2023 was when you and I visited the Russian embassy.
You got it.
Oh, no, that was only last year in 25.
Oh, was it?
So all we've done, Andrew, all what we've achieved to date is happened in 13 months. Before that, it was many years before something really clicked, and a few more years before that. So the experience of conscious itself is happening in quicker blocks. So this.
All right, we're wrapping up there, guys. We're trying to keep into a time limit so we can get them uploaded and get them out on different channels and that. So lovely to meet you, Ulikai. Thanks.
In the end of the day, my brothers, people got to drop their legal matters and deal with the big matter, and that is getting our country back on track, particularly with banking, because without the abundance, we don't have anything. We have no footing in this country.
We'll put that 200-page document will go up on the website, guys. So anyone that's interested can get onto that, have a look, and let's.
People are happy. I'm happy for people to have my number, my emails to reach out.
Yep.
There's no such thing as stupid questions, but there are a lot of stupid answers.
All right, and we can.
That was good. I'm going to give you that one, Illico. That was excellent.
Oh yeah, no, I stole that one.
Do you mind if I use it?
All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much for having us on, and thank you for the audience for being here too.
No, thank you, Illico. Thank you, Andrew, and we shall meet again, guys. And thank you, Frank, and see you on Friday night, people. Thank you, guys. Pleasure to
have a lovely day, guys.
Enjoy. After the country.
You need to see this. You need to know what Australia was and what we've lost. We're going to watch the full 90 seconds of this. And if your heart doesn't both swell with pride and then heartbreak and sadness, there might be something wrong.
Have you noticed something happening, something going on around here? Have you noticed there's a feeling of something in the air?
It's a feeling that keeps growing from the outback to the sea. It's a feeling that's true as
just like you and me. Come on, give us a hand. Give us a hand. Come on, give us a hand. Let's make it grand. Let's make it great in '88. Give us a hand to celebrate. Celebration of the nation. Give us a hand. Celebration of the nation. Let's make it grand. Let's lend a hand. Show the world how great we ought to be.
all those years of sweat and tears.
It's our bicentenary. Celebration of the nation. Give us a hand.
Let's make it grand.
Let's make it great. 88. Come on, give us a hand.
Powerful stuff. That's what we were. That's who we were. That's what people like me are sad to see that we've lost. We've lost that Aussie spirit of togetherness, like the celebration of the nation. Now it's all, you're illegitimate, it's stolen land. Let's tear it down. Let's burn the flag on behalf of other foreign freaking interest countries.